for that response that took about a year. So we have a lot of experience, and the prime contractor that we're utilizing has that same amount of experience that we've partnered with previously. I would say, sir, excellent characterization in your comments. I really have nothing more to say on that account. I would concur with everything that you had in that presentation as accurate. I'm certainly happy to elaborate on any questions that you may have. So my purpose here today is to be as transparent and forthright as possible. I come here with zero self-interest. We are given a mission through the President of the United States after the declaration of a natural disaster. And the Corps was then essentially hired by FEMA, who is the adjudicating agency for the federal response. And then we come and perform specific missions. One of those missions can be debris recovery and debris removal. And so that's what we've been asked to do as the Corps of Engineers. Corps of Engineers is a very large organization that does civil works historically for the United States. It's a 40,000 member organization, employees, the vast majority of which are civilians commanded by uniformed military officers. And so this type of response is very much within our experience bandwidth, and we look forward to partnering with all the federal, state, and local authorities. That's why I'm here today to talk to a town council. Again, to be as transparent and forthright as possible, and to do this in the safest manner that we can. The number one priority as given by the President to us was public health and the safety of not only our employees, but certainly the communities that are involved. So that is paramount in everything that we do. So the context of this discussion, that starts with the collection of the material, the transport of the material, and ultimately the disposal of the material. And so I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to now go through some council questions, and just for the public to understand how this process works, our council is going to ask some questions regarding the process, regarding what we've heard. Some of your questions might actually be asked. Afterwards, we're going to come to the public for a chance for each of you that have submitted a speaker card to speak. If you do want to speak, I ask that you fill out a speaker card. They're located in the back of the room, and you can return them right here to our city clerk. After the public has had a chance to speak, I'll be coming back to the council for comments, additional questions, and then direction on how to proceed from here. I do appreciate everyone being here tonight. Thank you for keeping it orderly. We want to make sure that everyone here is heard. And with that, I think we should just start with any council questions for the colonel or for the city manager, and I'll start with Council Member Weintraub.
Thank you. And I really want to hear from the public, and I'll have a lot more questions after. But just to frame the conversation for the public, for the colonel, and for everyone here, on January 25th, a resident reached out to me and said, I heard that the fire debris is coming to the Calabasas landfill. And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And this resident proceeded to say that he heard through somebody at a meeting. I immediately reached out to staff. I have no idea, we haven't heard this yet. I reached out to the supervisor's office. It was a Saturday evening. They were as responsive as could be. I don't know what you're talking about. This was January 25th. And today is February 12th. This is moving so fast. And I know the list of meetings that has happened, it looks like a lot of meetings, but for members of the public, they have not been involved. The information that's been coming out continues to change. And we had the town hall on Monday night, and there wasn't the clear answers that people need. So I appreciate you being here. I really appreciate Daniel from Supervisor Horvath's office. You did a great job with that meeting, so thank you. And your office has been wonderful. But this is moving so fast, and that's part of the problem. That from January 25th, nobody in the know knew what was happening to now we're already at phase 2. So my questions are, to start, will any hazardous material come to the Calabasas landfill?
So as was characterized earlier in the presentation, all the materials that you saw that was outlined there, that is not part of the waste stream coming to Calabasas.
Then,
And so,
sorry to interrupt, but why do they keep saying hazardous ash will come? That's what I'm asking.
so ash as it is in your fireplace is hazardous. And so, and I'm not trying to I'm not trying to oversimplify this, but when a structure burns, this fire burned very, very hot. A lot of the hazardous materials that we have come across at this point, when you look at an aerosol can, a paint can, if you look at a acetylene tank, a propane tank, lithium battery charger, lithium batteries themselves, many were exhausted in the fire. I have not come across any container that had any hazardous substance that still had a lid on it because it was expired during the fire. Still hazardous because it's still a container. So in terms of hazardous materials, it's actually advantageous from everything that's been reported to me that the fire did burn so hot. That doesn't alleviate your concerns. There's still going to be heavy metals and such that are contained within the ash perimeter. And so in accordance with all the EPA regulations, we clearly let them go first. And household hazardous materials were indicated on that sheet. But then after that process, when we come through, we are going to do an additional sweep. We manually walk the ground once again to look for any visible hazardous materials. And then we chip test the site for asbestos. Every house, it doesn't matter if it was built last year or 70 years ago. Any asbestos that is found, we immediately go into an abatement process in accordance with all state and federal regulations. So we abate the entire site for asbestos, and then we remove any asbestos containing materials, ACM. And that goes into a different waste stream that's not going to Calabasas. The household hazardous materials as depicted on the slide, that's a different waste stream that does not go to Calabasas. After that point, all the title property is taken off that is still remaining. So vehicles, trailers, boats, that goes into a different waste stream. Then we go to the metals. Any existing metals that we can find, we collect those metals, and that goes into actually mostly a recycling waste stream, but not to Calabasas. Then we take the concrete, the brick, and the rock off the site, and at that point we are left with the fire ash debris, and then that's what we collect. So to your point, council member, is there something left in that ash? Nothing on that list that we know of, but it's as hazardous as any ash product could be. And I'm not a scientist, but that waste stream at that point is in accordance with all California regulations for disposal of this site. And this is not the only site, and I think that's an important point to discuss.
Right,
There's
there's 17 sites.
17 total sites for the Palisades fire. 4 sites are designated for fire ash debris. Multiple sites for recycling. Asbestos and household hazardous materials are not coming to Calabasas. Those are going to other sites as well. So in totality, yes, 17 sites, specific to fire ash debris, 4 sites.
But I think only 2 are in residential neighborhoods.
And that I do not know.
Like, this is really in a residential neighborhood with parks and schools and everything around. And how many tons would be coming to Calabasas in total?
I wish I could give you that number of tons. Honestly, I
Right.
cannot.
See, that's part of the problem. So everyone throws out 200,000 for Woolsey, but we have no idea what this will be. So that's part of what I'm talking about, this date from January 25th, nobody knowing anything, to now saying it's coming to Calabasas landfill, but we don't have the information that we need. And I think that if the public and our city council had that information, this is the amount of tons that's coming to Calabasas, these are the routes that are coming, and we have that information, but it's moving so quickly that we can't make informed decisions without knowing what's coming here and how the large amount. And you talked about that no asbestos would come here, correct? Like with the testing. Let's see. But you can't say how many tons would come here and how long it would take.
As described in the original presentation, we suspect the first 6 months of this mission, the bulk of the material will be removed from both Eaton and Palisades fires. In totality, it will take about a year because there's some very complex legal matters to work out with a lot of properties. And there's also structurally some very difficult properties that we're going to have to work through, especially within the Palisades fire. And so totality, you're looking at about a year for the entire mission. But as the bell curve was described, that's exactly how it would look. There's going to be a ramp up period, which we're starting right now. We will peak, and then as we are left with legal challenges and structural challenges, then the density will certainly go down. I would tell you that the reason I think that I cannot give you a number for the amount of tonnage that's coming to Calabasas is because we are still working through with other landfills simultaneous to this one, the extension of hours. How much waste stream can we bring into that landfill? We're working through still the logistical challenges of traffic patterns and what materials are we gonna be able to move at night? What are we forced to move during day? And so those are also coming with special permitting requests, in some cases exemptions. So there's a series of variables that are involved that are still yet undefined, trying to distribute the waste streams to as many places as possible. And Cal Recycle is the lead on that. So the agency that leads on that is Cal Recycle. We take our guidance from Cal Recycle and work in concert with them and Caltrans, primarily for the routes. LA County Public Works serves as our main partner here locally as they brought in all those agencies together as we're continuously refining this plan to try to decrease flow, volume to places as much as possible as we increase the amount of options.
And I just have one last question. Given that everything is such on a rush timetable to get debris removed, even though it's going through phase 1 and all the specific processes, but can you be 100% certain that no waste that is hazardous will end up in the landfill?
Ma'am, I don't think
Exactly.
I taught probability and statistics at West Point, so I'm gonna be hard pressed to be 100% certain of anything. So I'm not trying to equivocate. No, I will not offer you 100%.
And I appreciate the honesty. Like, that's what people want to hear. So I appreciate the honesty. It's just, it's so rushed and there's been such misinformation out there. The only thing that's been certain is that debris from the Eaton fire will not come here, and that the list of phase 1 that is considered hazardous will not come into our landfill. But I don't think there is real clarity on what's not hazardous but hazardous that's coming into our landfill. And I understand Ashland, our fireplace is hazardous, but without knowing the amount of tonnage, I mean, you're saying 200,000 for Woolsey, but is this gonna be 1 million? 2 million? I have no idea, because the scope of this natural disaster is so huge. So those are my preliminary comments. Thank you for being here and being honest.
I really appreciate the questions.